All right, not only an address to the American people, but one from the Oval Office, the epicenter of power we associated so much with so many seismic events in American history, whether it was, of course, the Cuban Missile Crisis with John Kennedy or a number of crises under Ronald Reagan. But Oval Office addresses are big events. We see that 33 alone came from Ronald Reagan from that office. There was good reason for that. He thought it was a powerful, powerful backdrop. Barack Obama, not so much. 3 such speeches from that august room, the epicenter of power, like I say. Former Reagan economist Art Laffer on that. Art, what is it about, and what your old boss Ronald Reagan thought about, the Oval Office itself as a venue to address the nation?
Let me first just say, you and Charlie Gasparino make a great team. I just love watching it. Yeah, Reagan loved the Oval Office. He was very good at it. Obviously, having a historical record of being an actor and being able to do that, he could pull it off very well, and he loved doing that. And I think Trump should do a lot more of it as well. I think this will be terrific for Trump tonight. Now,
the significance of the Oval Office, I mean, we forget presidents speak all the time, and sometimes we lose sight of the fact whether it was in the Oval Office or not. But obviously, Reagan, looking at the disproportionate number of such addresses over his 8 years, almost 36, he liked that venue the most, whether it was on a personal tragedy like after the Challenger disaster or explaining the Iran-Contra issue toward the end of his presidency. What is it about that?
It's the gravitas. I mean, it's like wearing black tie. It's like dressing up for going to an office or whatever. You know, the president took it very seriously, took his job very seriously, Reagan did, and he used the Oval Office because of that seriousness. And he also dressed very well all the time for the same reason. He spoke very well all the time. And that's what Trump's going to do tonight. And I think it's the perfect occasion today for Trump to do that. It's the border issue, the shutdown, and I hope they try to put their principal spokesperson up. Nancy Pelosi should do her address as well. It should not be any other member of the House or the Senate. It really is Nancy Pelosi who should do a nationwide address explaining her side of the equation.
Well, she is going to have a response along with Chuck Schumer afterwards. So you're right about that. They picked their 2 prominent people to do that. But I'm wondering, such responses are rare in non-State of the Union addresses, not unprecedented. They have been done, but they are rare. What do you make of just that?
Well, I don't think they should be done with respect to Donald Trump's speech per se. I think they should have a separate address themselves and have it nationwide, the 2 of them, if they want to. I don't think they should just kibitz and argue about what Trump said, this, that, or the other. I think they should do a full address as to what their plans are. You know, Nancy Pelosi and Schumer have just stood against everything that Trump does. They don't have a prospective plan whatsoever. Trump stands for the wall. He thinks that's the right thing to do. And goodness knows, Neil, I'm no wall expert of any sort, but at least he's standing for something. And these people should put it out what they stand for. And I don't think they have. All they do is they're standing against Trump. And they've made it a purely political issue. And I don't think these things should be purely political. They should be substantive.
Well, I think both sides play fast and loose with that, right?
They do. They do. Yeah. Both sides could call it quits tomorrow. But you know, when you have an issue on hand, especially an issue of $5 billion, I mean, there are probably 600 $5 billion issues in total government spending. And if we had a battle like this at every one of them, we'd have no government ever operating.
All right, but now we declare national emergency. That could be a slippery slope, though, right? Because the next president could declare the same, right? For any one of a number of purposes, right?
That's very true.
Yeah. We shall see, my friend. Happy New Year. Good
seeing you. Happy New Year, too, Neil. Thanks for having me on.